As a public elected officials, all of us must be concerned that our government could have anyway been involved in drug trafficking.
Director Deutsch, as a former Los Angeles police narcotics detective, that the agency has dealt drugs throughout this country for a long time.
So you had the CIA finally coming to the table and admitting that what we reported in the 80s and what Webb reported in the 90s was in fact true.
They called it a war on drugs. But if you grew up in ground zero like me, it felt more like a war on us. It's no secret that we were targets. But after 20 years of being in the film industry, I'm going back to where it all started, to document the people in my community who survived the crack and gang epidemic of the 80s and 90s, to create a new blueprint for the future. We would travel from city to city to hear stories of success and redemption. This is Products of the Plan. Episode 4, The Next Move. And you know, like, I just think your family has such a huge impact. Like, you know, like Rosie was my built-in best friend. Like, as soon as y'all came to the block, it was like everything got a little more like bright for me, you know. I had a friend, I had you, Georgie, my little babies, like, you know what I'm saying? And I know you guys went through a lot next door, but sometimes my house could be a safe haven, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially for like Robert, you know, so, and Kiki, like all of you guys like just have such a huge role in our lives. So I'm just like, you guys' story is so valid and so important. I want you to have a platform to tell it, you know, to tell your story.
Yes, I appreciate that. And speaking of Robert, rest in peace. It's his birthday today. So
are you serious?
Yes, rest in peace to Robert. You know, mental health is so important, you know.
Yeah.
And it's all a part of the plan. Like
it's all part of the plan, but that plan can either destroy us or it's gonna make us stronger. You know what I'm saying? Like, our people been through so much. It's like you can't really break us no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, you broke our ancestors down, you broke our grandparents down, you broke our parents down. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got moms, two of the most beautiful women on the planet, and that shit came through and attacked them. You know what I'm saying? And so now, like, we're the next generation that gotta stop it. Yeah. Like, it can't keep going, you know, none of it. So I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And I want to sit down and interview you and just let's unpack all this stuff, see what we've been up to. All right, we're gonna move over.
Because I went through the experiences I went through, you went through the experience you went through. Because this whole plan that was actually seeming to be devised against us, as far as mass incarceration, as far as systemic racism, institutional racism, as far as all these different things that are going on in our communities, have been a strategic plot to destroy you, me, and our whole culture. At the same time, while representing or seemingly to represent our culture, or at least mimic it, at least mimic it. So why do you hate what you mimic? That's what I don't understand for the people that do that. But since they're doing it, I'm not gonna try to figure out why they do it. I'm gonna create paths of righteousness for people to campaign on, and I feel that that's what you want, because you kind of said that earlier. If it ain't right, I ain't got to be a part of it. So for me, that's really big. And so I feel that we got a grand opportunity not to only make it an amazing living for ourselves, but create and open pathways up for other people too. You know what I mean? And so, but it's gonna be a long and a painful trek. But I'm willing to do it. If you're willing to do it, I feel that we can create something that will bring, like how your sister's doing, bringing people's stories to the forefront. Because there's a lot of people out here that need to be heard. Because some of these things will be changed if they just listen to us. All I'm asking is to be listened to. You ain't got to make a move. Our people's going to make the move. I need somebody to listen, and I need somebody to give us some resources. Because there's a saying that says that the hood was never deprived of talent. It was only deprived of resources. We don't want you to say, we're not looking for a savior. We're looking for a person to come in and say, hey, you know what? I see what you're going through. I got a few resources over here. Will this help you? Absolutely. And we're going to get to it.
But look how deep being products of a plan really is, because at the same time, the people who implemented all of these things, all of these obstacles for us, it's, me and our little sister was just talking about it. It's like a root already, right? So every day, being this, like we overcome to a degree, but for how long though? Because they got, like I was telling her, for every 500 people that can see past it now,
Okay.
all it takes is for that 1 or 2 people that's still products of the plan that's happening.
Yeah.
The people who, like, where you could be infiltrated.
Okay.
So when someone understands, sees that you are opening these doors and now you becoming this person, and then you have the capacity to bring other people to something better,
Yeah.
it's easy to just send that one person to just come right on in and trigger you in a way. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever.
Yeah.
And then when they get the dirt on you, you're still a product of the plan. Because now you might have to rise. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Now you might have to assault someone, and then, you know what I'm saying?
Just to show them that I'm not with what you talking about, and I'm over here. But now you have to start over because you did something to them, and that's what's being focused on.
Yeah. So
it's a continued plan.
It's a continued plan that you, at some point, when this person is coming to trigger you, you got to kind of look at it as like it's not that person. You know what I'm saying? It's they caught up in the product of the plan, or spiritual wise, that's an entity. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So because all it takes is for one person to say one thing,
everything,
and then you could step out there because. So if you don't properly know how to deal with your ego when your ego is getting at you, then you're gonna be back in that cycle. You know what I'm saying?
It's not just enough to change. So I need to hear this because I've been out for 3 years, but hearing this, I haven't been out here for no long time.
Yeah.
Right? I'm fresh to all this. I'm a baby to all this.
Yeah.
You know, living on this side of the life. So you're saying it's just not enough to say, you know what, I changed and you're doing a few good things. What you're saying is you need to prepare for some of the struggles that's about to happen. You need to prepare for some of these challenges that people are about to come out and say and do.
Struggle.
And if you don't, you're going to fall right back.
The struggles is coming. They don't have it. They have to. The struggles have to come. If you coming from a place of poverty,
okay,
and then now you learned how to make some money, you know what I'm saying? All someone got to do is take that money away from you, and then what are you gonna do? What is your character then? Are you gonna jump back out there in the dope game? You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so I think that us being products of a plan, they ran all these tests on all of the people, not just us, the people before us, and so they figure out what's the bad habits that they have. Oh, this person's bad habit is this. This person's bad habit is that. So at any time when you
catering to that,
when you get beside yourself, and beside yourself is just you becoming who you supposed to be.
Come on.
To them, oh, we about to throw this on him now because he did struggle with females. So now we about to throw these females on him. You know what I'm saying? So they have the resources to get us back into a crazy situation.
If we're not really changed on the inside.
Yeah.
I feel like they used us and infiltrated in all facets, and that's where as far as the music, we got infiltrated.
Yep.
Even right now, like nobody likes talking about that though. Like, you know what be pissing me off? You know how artists be saying, like, well, I don't make. That's up to the parents to not make the kids. I hate. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Especially now that like it's almost impossible to stop these kids from hearing this music. Like it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Phones, YouTube, TV, at school. Like, how do you stop it? You can do your part. We can do our part and, you know, talking to our kids and all that, but they gonna hear it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I ultimately feel like back years ago, 30, 40 years ago, they started infiltrating music and putting the poison in the music and just paying niggas off like, Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And I hate to
Industry
say it, yeah.
moles and all
Industry
that.
moles,
Mhm.
like that'd be real. And although ain't no artist gonna admit it, yeah, I'm the, no,
Yeah, no, it's
yeah.
real
No,
because
it's hella real.
think about what hip hop started with. It was
Right,
it was
exactly.
positive, like like
Exactly.
uplifting. Like there was little ratchetness here
Yeah.
and there, but for the most part, it was lyrical. It was like storytelling.
Yeah.
It was like I always say, like what we do with art now, whether it be music, film, that's our hieroglyphs.
Right.
This is our way of
Right.
writing on the walls.
Right.
Like
For sure.
so. We were trying to do something like have a voice, and
Right.
like you said, they came through and they destroyed our voice,
Exactly.
and they tainted it, and then now here we are.
Exactly.
Here we are after. Every time we try to evolve in something, they come through and taint it. But
Exactly.
that's like you said, the awakening is happening now.
For sure.
We got to stop being so blinded to
Yeah.
what's going on right in front of us. It's hidden
Yeah.
in plain sight.
It
You know what
is.
I'm saying?
It is.
And it's not until we know who we are
Right.
that we're gonna stop accepting
Right.
what they're telling us we are, who
Right.
they're telling us we are.
Right.
So I feel like that's what this is about. Products of the plan. It's not gonna be another trauma porn thing. And even when it comes to like reality shows, I've worked on countless reality shows for every network you can imagine. And when you think about a reality show, it's just two people sitting down having a conversation.
Right.
But what are they talking about?
Right.
We could either be talking about how that bitch stole that man or whatever, or we could be talking about how we gonna stop our kids from having to go through what our parents and grandparents and everybody went through. Like we gotta change the system, and like people gotta be more open to accepting positive programming. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but it's all we can do is our part.
that.
Whoever, like when you build this and when you create this, the people who's supposed to see it is gonna see it.
Period.
Off top, and the people who need it at that time is gonna see it.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And that's all. That's all we can do.
Now I believe that because I know that even back in the day, like when I started learning about Sebi, I remember you posted that that I was the first one to let a lot of Colorado people know who Dr. Sebi was.
Yeah.
And it's like I remembered like trying to force people, like, man, this man cures AIDS, man, please.
Yeah.
And nobody gave a fuck.
Right.
But as soon as he died and got killed, or no, as soon as Nipsey brought him up, then everybody's, backpedaling back to me, like, oh yeah, you was
exactly. But see, people didn't believe because you didn't have the influence like that yet. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean like you've been chosen. You know what I mean? But sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah.
That's what it takes. Like even in my field, even with these records, like I might really break a record. They ain't gonna believe it till DJ Drama play it.
Exactly.
Or something like that.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing.
Like you said, it's for whoever it's supposed to be for, and
That's
everybody else will weed themselves out of it. You know what I'm saying?
That's
but from here, it's like it's a journey. Like we start with us, and then it goes across the country because. If we can start hearing these stories of like why you didn't do it, because somebody, they're like, okay, KTone grew up in Park Hill, and little Bobby, little Whoopie Whoop grew up in Park Hill. How come it's different?
Yeah.
If they can know your blueprint, that okay, you had activities, like these are things that a mom, a single mom, could be looking at and be like, okay, she took him to activities. Maybe that's what I need. Put him in violin. Put him in these different things.
That's again doubling back. Even with my foundation, KTone Cares Foundation, that's why we do some of the programs we do. We do this Music Soul Child program on Saturdays at a certain time, teaching kids instrumentation, take them out that element.
Exactly.
Give them this. So instead of them possibly wanting to be on video games or go outside and gangbang, I want to play with this instrument.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta give them the tools, put the resources. At least got to put it in front of them.
Yeah.
You know
because that's what the problem was with that generation. There was no resources. So if guns and gangs and money and stuff is coming in, what else are they gonna do?
Exactly.
So you're right. I think our job is to create the resources. And even with this, like with the filmmaking side of it, I think when we're telling these stories, it's a healing aspect that comes out of it. Almost everybody I've interviewed has shed a tear. So if I get a tear out of you today, that'd be great. But no, for real, like everybody has kind of gotten emotional because we let this stuff fester inside of us, And so it's like when you let it out, you let other people know that they're not alone. Like a lot of us are going through this. And so what I really want to do is empower the people to start telling their stories, to show them like as simple as like getting a few cell phones and just setting them up and telling your story, and I'll send them to me, I'll edit it for you. You know what I'm saying? Like I really want to empower us to share because they're deleting our history every day.
Sure.
And even though somebody might think, oh, the crack epidemic and drugs and gangs shouldn't be our history, it is, whether we like it or not. And we gotta accept it. We gotta stop having family secrets. We gotta let these little babies know what's up, so that they don't do it. You know what I'm saying? My mom told my daughter about why she started doing crack. You know what I'm saying? And that's a heavy conversation for a 7-year-old. You know, you think is heavy, but these kids are smart. We were smart. Somebody could have had those conversations with us, and we would have not been resentful or not felt the kind of way. You know. So it's like now that's how we break the cycle. We open the line of communication.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure. Because that line of communication definitely was cut off with it. Like I've been learning since I've been growing. I've been learning so many stories. Like why? What? That's why this happened, or that's why we act like this. Why wouldn't y'all say this 20 years ago, 30 years ago?
Right.
What are we like? We gotta stop. We gotta stop doing it.
We have to.
You know what I mean?
And that's what I want. I want to have people see this and be like, damn, I do need to sit down and talk to my daughter. I need to sit down and talk to my son. That's the only way we're going to change it. You know what I'm saying?
I feel that we should take the time, express what's in our hearts and mind. I know we have many things to say. We shouldn't waste another day.
And I'm just so grateful now that we both got more mature now. We're off of drugs. We don't drink no more. And my life changed really, really. You know when it changed? When you came. You actually saved my life. After I had Michael at 15, I ended up having Jay when I turned 20. Yeah, when I turned 20, I had Jay. I had got married. I actually got married. Thought I was going to have a wonderful life with a husband finally. Someone I thought that really loved me. Bought me a car, and he was military, so I just knew I was going to be a military wife, and I was excited for my future finally. But unfortunately, he'd end up doing me really wrong and abandoning your mother and me. So it made me sad, so I ended up doing drugs. I ended up going out in them streets, and then I started doing drugs after I had her. I just lost control because I have been hurt so many times by these men. Michael's dad me and him used to fight all the time, and he was very abusive. So it was time for me to get out of that. So I finally got out of that.
Yeah, if they punch you like in a certain place, that can really damage
Exactly.
Uncle.
Exactly. But they weren't going to do that because Grandma was a fighter. She had to fight. And then I thought I had the perfect husband, and then he was abusive as well. Ended up being no good. So I ended up doing drugs and not doing the right things. And when I first started doing the drugs, my first experience, I had my own apartment, my own car and everything. I was doing really good, was working, had 2 or 3 jobs at the time. And I hit that stuff with a friend. A friend came over and said, here, try this. And why did I do that? Bad decisions. I ended up losing the apartment, my car, and basically myself.
If you didn't take that, decision, you would have still had all that, wouldn't you?
I probably would have had more. And I probably would have been doing so much better. I probably would have had a good relationship because unfortunately, when you do them drugs, you end up destroying your relationship with your family. And your family is actually doing drugs along with you because they have to go through what you're going through. So I put my family through so much, you know, and that ended up causing Grandma to fight a whole bunch of people and boyfriends here and there. And then Grandma got set on fire. Okay. And that didn't even stop me from doing the drugs still. Kept doing it. Kept getting back into relationships with abusive boyfriends. and just kept on and kept on and kept messing up, kept getting beat up, kept getting hurt. You know, grandma and you guys and my daughter and my son always, they just kept coming and helping me and finding me in the streets and finding me in the hospital. I end up giving up custody of Michael and Jay, your mom and uncle, because I was on drugs. And then I had seen all my friends on drugs with their kids, and they were doing things with their kids that I would never allow my kids to go through, ever. They were selling their kids, they were doing all kinds of stupid things, and they were abusing their kids. So I felt my best decision to do was to give up custody of both of them, because I never wanted them to go through what I went through. So after all of that happened, and I went through everything I went through, Jay had you, and I went to visit you when you first came, and I stayed down there and I seen you, and oh, my heart melted. Here you was, this little tiny baby. And I just fell in love, and I knew I had to do better. I had to do better because I was such a bad mom that it was time. And my mom always told me, I'm trying to teach you to be the woman that you should be, because she wasn't going to be here much longer. And she kept putting that in my mind. So when you came along, I was like, this is what you were talking about, huh? And here you are, and guess what happened?
What happened?
I changed my whole life. And I'm so grateful that you're here. Okay?
Are those happy tears?
Very happy.
Part of being a good parent, though, because she did the best for us by letting our grandma have us. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to make those tough decisions, but she made a good and wise decision.
And so when Jay came down with you guys got to live with me in 2 of my apartments. And that last time you guys came and you left, and I said, oh, I couldn't stand being here without you anymore. So I called your mom. I said, hey, there's nothing down here for me no more. Can I come stay and help you with Serene? And she said, yes. And guess what? I'm here. And I said that no matter what, I was going to try to make this relationship between me and her to help you to work. And when I had her, I had a boy already, right? So I was, if I ever have another kid, I hope I have a little girl. And I ended up having a little girl. And boy, I was so excited about having her. So I would do her hair when she finally did have hair. Because your mom didn't have hair at one time. She was a little bald head and had a little mohawk.
She had hair like yours.
she had a mohawk. And I remember one time I took her and Michael and Gennaro to the park. And these kids, they were just, Jay was swinging, and some little white kid started making fun of your mom about her hair. He called her Mr. T. And Michael and Gennaro get ready to beat up the little boy. So I ended up having to get them out of there so they wouldn't beat up the little boy for calling her sister a little. But yeah, your mom was a little daredevil. She liked you, was fearless, wanted to jump off of stuff, wanted to do stuff. She was fearless, I'm telling you. She reminds me, you look just like each other. So to me, now that I'm sober, I know that's how I am with you. I could have been with my daughter and my son now that I'm sober. Now I know I would have been an amazing mom if I would have stayed off them drugs. And this is how I know now, because I'm sober and I'm with you. And I think I'm an amazing grandma. I don't care what nobody says, but I'm going to try to be. I said I couldn't be the best mother for you, for them too, but I could be the best grandma I could be. I can't make up for what I did, but I can try my best with you. Okay?
And you know, it's become such a therapeutic thing for them, for my uncles and my mom and my brother and all these former gang members and drug addicts, for them to express it. Like, my mom didn't know why my uncle started smoking crack. My uncle didn't know why his little baby sister started smoking crack. Like, these are conversations that become family secrets, and nobody talks about it. And then it just continues the cycle. So now I'm forcing them to talk to my 7-year-old daughter about it. You know, because she's intelligent. She understands, like,
And she needs to know.
and she needs to know. And if they could have had that conversation with me at that age, who knows what difference it could have made, you know? But everything happens for a reason. You know, maybe I wasn't at a mental state to take it, but I know my daughter is, you know, and I know that she's not going to be a victim of family secrets. She's not going to be a victim of the societal things that have been set up to make her fail. Like, she's going to be privileged, and she's going to, you know,
But isn't that funny that she's going to be privileged is something that you say and it rolls off your tongue? It's not a privilege to live without drugs in your life. It's not that word.
But it feels like it, you know, it feels like, okay, I got her out of, she'll never see what I saw growing up. She'll never be around batterams and gang violence and drugs. She won't, and I got to do that for her. You know what I'm saying? But I don't feel that I'm the one that broke the cycle. I feel my grandmother was, because she instilled something in me to let me know there was something different, you know? So I don't take credit for that. I give all credit to her, because she watched her children's demise from becoming victims of this thing, and she knew that she had another chance. She had a second chance with her grandbabies to make sure that they didn't do it. And a lot of my cousins did fall victim too, you know, but I didn't, and I won't, and I'm not, you know? And so I'm gonna keep going, and I'm gonna keep, you know, telling these stories by any means. You know, I'm not scared of any repercussions. Like, I have other projects that will bring way more repercussions than this.
Don't we know it? Don't we know it?
So this one, to me, is just like, it's vital to get it out there and to just tell this story. And we're doing it with blood, sweat, and tears. I'm not looking for funding. I'm not looking for networks. I'm looking for God giving me my talent to put it towards telling these stories by any means. Like, I don't need too much to do it.
Well, there's no barriers to entry. I mean, you could literally, this could be a podcast, this could be it's up and you have it up, and now it's living and breathing it out there and exposing. And I do give you more credit than you're giving yourself. And you have to remember that it is very easy for a lot of people to just sit back and say, I might not go down that path. I'm not going to, you know, expose myself to X, Y, or Z. But you've taken this a step further, because what you're doing is actually using your experience to help others. And that is huge. Now, I know that maybe grandmother probably would have done the same thing if she had the tools in her hands, right? But she didn't. So she used the tools that she had, which was to mother her grandbabies in a different way. But you have these other tools that are available. Sure, you're going to do that for your daughter, but you're going to do that for a generation of people. You don't know how these conversations resonate with one person. You know, you don't know how this will hit somebody else, or you just don't. And that's why it's really important to continue to do it, because you're going to inspire that's it. That's all you need, right? And so you just keep going and you keep doing it. But the big ticket here is to understand that there are other people in this world that are trying to help too. And they're not necessarily ones that come from the same background that you did. But there are barriers that have been set now at very high levels that we all have to battle together. So, you know, and it's the product of, I think, you know, listening to the news every single day, trying to really drill into, like, how did we get here? You know, I think this underbelly sort of hatred of DEI or people of color, I would say people of color in general. I think racism is alive and well, unfortunately, and it's never gone away. But I think this blatant disregard for human beings based on things like their color of the skin or where they're from. Venezuela is targeted right now, right, as being gang members, or Jews for, you know, and the whole Palestinian, you know, connection. You know, they just like to hate you. That's what it feels like. It just feels like they just like to hate, and they put their energy from feeling like they've been pushed down. Yeah. You know, I had to explain white privilege to family members. I had to. What I was your explanation that, you know, they believe that white privilege is that, you know, we come from like a protected environment, a rich environment, that we just got things handed to us. Meaning like a silver platter, go to the best schools, go do this. And so their vision is that I had to work my ass off to get where I am. Right? Yeah. I came from a modest, what are you talking about? I came from a modest family, and I had to pay for my own school, and I had to do it myself, and I worked really hard to get everything that I had. And I'm like, that's not what we're talking about. Right. We're talking about a segment of people who literally never had the ability to have privilege, not once. Yeah. And so you've always had the ability to go to school, be in a good community, go to, you know, get the opportunity to work really hard, where people want to work really hard, but the odds were always against them. Yeah. That's white privilege. Exactly. But people say, oh, I know, you know, people of color have this, that, the other thing. It's like, you might know that, and you might say you have Black friends, but you don't know the Black experience.
What helped me navigate this neighborhood back in those days was that I took my ass inside that wreck. And Coach Herman was like, this is what y'all gonna do. And I latched on to that. I didn't even play around with it. I knew, like, again,
we stayed at Skyland from sun up to sundown. That's why I said my card, or whatever you call it,
it didn't work. Like,
can't stand it.
But look, but here's the thing. I knew not to take my ass on that 33rd side, 33rd on Holly. I knew not to go there because I had no business there. Like it's kind of like knowing your lane in life. Stay in your lane because there's less traffic there.
For sure.
I knew if I stayed right there in that athletic space, I was gonna be good. And the Pirates gave me the Skyland Recreation Center, because it went from the Pirates to the Skyland Survivors to the, like, yo, I knew if I stayed in that sports lane, I wasn't gonna have to worry about gangs. I wasn't gonna have to have direct interaction with being in a gang and dealing with the trappings of that.
Courtney, I was so affected. Like, my son, Victor, who, you know, if you speak to him, he speaks to King James.
Yeah.
Verbiage. So he, when he was in the 9th grade, I think, he got a job at Skyland as a lifeguard. Yeah. And I didn't have to tell my kids prior history, you know?
Yeah.
But him just walking over to Ned's, it would make me feel away. The first time I found out that he was like going from Skyland to Ned's, and you know, this is years later, I could tell I had to sit back and say he's cool. He'll be okay, because in my world, making that walk,
it was different.
It was different.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why I will forever say to the day.
It was different. At any second, it could be like sweet and boom.
Yeah, but to the day I die, do you know, I will always say the only reason I was able to navigate Park Hill is I was inside of Sky.
Oh, right.
There could be shooting. They can shoot up the Holly. There's been times they've shot at the Holly.
Yeah.
And I was in Skyland.
Yeah.
I was in Skyland. Yeah. And then we come outside like, oh shit. Yeah. They were shooting, right? But I was in a protected zone. And that's where I knew I needed to stay. You feel me? Like you wasn't gonna catch me playing around in the bricks, even though going to Hill, we had a whole bunch of friends that lived in the bricks.
Yeah.
You wasn't gonna catch me just randomly just standing outside in the Holly. Listen, Skyland, Child's Kitchen, get my 6-piece wing hot, back to Skyland. Like that's what it was. It was like I didn't have no stops. You know what I mean? So I think ultimately that's what.
And you know they lived in the hood. They lived.
But that's what protected me. Skyland was my shield.
Yeah, I believe I can agree.
The youth, I don't feel like the youth today want a shield like I had to shield Skyland, because I feel like I came up in that era where we listened to adults. Yeah, we would smack our teeth and we'd have an attitude and things of that nature. However, the things that they say would resonate and it would stick. We didn't have social media, we didn't have the internet to fact check the things that our parents told us. Like, we had to go to Encyclopedia Britannica. You know, your mom bought you Encyclopedia Britannica, you thought you was like, oh man, I made it. But like now, like the kids can fact check you in real time. So it really makes them, it helps them in a way, but then also makes them so independent to where they just don't want to listen to wisdom. So my question is,
I don't agree.
Okay.
I don't agree. Just because I deal with them, like on a daily, weekly thing, right? So they're crying out, they're that acting out, that thing. I can see that amount. I can see it. It makes me sick, but to be vulnerable and that's why I said like men need to be present, even if it ain't your child. Like you just got to be present, and it's not like I feel like I can say anything to. I can make you receive anything I want you to.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, for sure.
I can.
For sure.
Whatever it is,
For
right?
sure.
Just by the way I present it and I say it, right?
Yeah, that's a fact.
So I get that. I get the tough, and I'm just hey, first, we're gonna start by, nah.
Man, but I just
on
think
a one-on-one.
I think the slight difference only for me is just that I feel like this generation has to feel it. But you specifically are a rock right here on this 28th in Fairfax. You've been here since 1997, right? The church ain't there no more.
For sure.
This little house they had over here that was a little bit of everything.
Everything.
That's not there no more. Son, and I ain't there.
I know.
Yeah, so let's put that in perspective in terms of bringing this full circle, in terms of your own wording to say the choices that we make young, we gotta see them at some point. Dog, you're here. It's a reason why Jackie gave you a call to be a Park Hill representative, right? And I'm telling you, I see it, man. Like people see you.
I am my brother and my sister's keeper. I am. That's just who I am. And I know that everybody can't give that back. But for me, like, that's what it is, especially if you moving in a positive space. Like, even if you ain't, I'm gonna pull you to the side. Now, whether you take it and whether you wanna ride with it, that's a you thing. But I'm gonna give it to you.
There are no limits. And like growing up, they always tell us we can do anything that we want, right? And now I'm like, right now I'm at this moment in my life where I'm like, I want to be everything that I ever wanted to be. And like, what kind of message would I keep telling these kids if I tell them they can be whatever they want, and I don't give them that resource or show them what that looks like. Show them show this little girl in LA that, this girl all the way from across the world, because this seems like a whole different world, is doing these amazing things, right? This foster girl that is seeing you for the first time, right? And like looks at you with just these big stars in her eyes, and it's like, wow. I want to be that person.
Exactly.
And it's like
we gotta be the people that would have saved us when we were kids.
Yeah.
Like if we would have had that like big brother, big sister type thing, like we gotta be
and
that.
we are those people, Mike.
Exactly.
All the things that you talk about trauma, all the things that he had been through. He got shot when he was young, but outside of all of those things, he still found a way.
Absolutely.
So we're being those things that couldn't always be there like we wanted, but provide a damn good example.
100%.
Provide a damn good example.
100%. Well, this project is going, so I need you on board, and it's go time. So this is like an investigative journey, you know? Like we'll go talk to different people, different celebrities who they reference it in their music or they talk about it as athletes or whatever, but they survived and they came out of it. You know, like even Venus and Serene, they lost a sister to gang violence. Like there's so many people that like that was their 50 Cent, you know, he was shot, he was caught up in the gang shit. Like there's so many celebrities that like share the same story and like have evolved and made it so far in their lives. We got to know why and how so that this next generation can have more tips, more tools, and they don't got to go through this shit, you know?
Give them the blueprint, but give us a blueprint for them in a real way. And that's if we do anything, that's what we need to do. Like lay the foundation because, you know, we know better.
Absolutely.
Like we talk about Gennaro, like now that we know better, if we had the opportunity, he could be on here. He could be a cameraman.
Absolutely.
We could find a way like him. He's going to interviewing the YNs in the hood.
That's my plan too. Is like we talking about second chances. So my thing is like, how do we give opportunity so that people can have second chances? So for me, like with this project, I want to get a lot of industry people. Like I've been in the game for 20 years. I know a lot of producers, executive producers. I want them to come in and meet the local, maybe ex-convicts, ex-gang members, ex-addicts. Teach them how to be filmmakers. Teach them how to be the storytellers. Let them continue this journey so that like it's a self-sustaining machine. These people learn how to do it. They send us the stuff and we keep distributing it. We keep giving them, they're getting access to potentially network credits or, you know, titles and things that can help them grow as like producers or film, like shit that I didn't have in Denver. I had to leave that motherfucker just to like do anything. You know, like you hit that glass ceiling real easy. So like my whole thing is being the spook who sat by the door. Like I am the spook who sat by the door, so I'm taking the information that I've learned in this journey and I'm giving it back. And I want to give it to people who need a chance, who need an opportunity in the greatest storytellers of all times. You know what I'm saying? So that's where we're going with it. I'm gonna make a self-sustaining franchise that can just keep going in every city. Like and that's what we're doing. So you riding with me on this journey and it's go time.
I'm proud of you.
Thank
you.
you.
It's much needed. I've seen your evolution and your growth through, you know, your storytelling, your poetry, and just how you keep it redefining the Jackie of all trades. So it's just who you are, and I love this. I love
thank
this.
you, and I see you too. So I give you your flowers.
Thank you.
I see you. I love what you're doing, and you know you got me anytime you need me. So what?
I can't drink your beer.
I know I didn't drink yours. But thank you.
Yes.
I gotta get out of here. You can finish your hookah.
We can help people see what their future could be. Doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, what we do in entertainment. It could be something else. It could be business. It could be social. You know, it could be whatever it is, education. You know, but if somebody's there to say, well, here's an opportunity for you to choose what you want to do. I like doing this, or I don't like doing this, you know, that sort of thing. So that's why I first started doing it, and I had the opportunity to do it. So why not?
Yeah.
You know?
And then like, but what benefits did you see come out of that? Like, what did it do what you hoped it would do?
Yeah. Proof is sitting right in front of me. I mean, honestly, you're very successful, you know, and you're gonna be even more successful. And you're gonna bring your children on to be successful, and you're gonna have somebody else be successful. So that's sitting right in front of me. Now, you mentioned Jared. Jared's in Atlanta doing his thing, you know, have other people who are doing their thing, who have been my interns or have asked me for advice. I got 2 or 3 young people now that I'm at the film school at UC Denver that film for me now. You know,
Nice.
they're cinematographers. You know, their lighting is fantastic. You know, and but giving them an opportunity. You know, they maybe would work for somebody else, but they have opportunity to really practice their skills now outside of the classroom.
Absolutely.
And that's really what you want. Classroom is great, but when you can practice outside and somebody's paying you for it, you know, you can't.
It's a different
You have to be. It's a totally
that's
different
why,
story.
look, I think that's why it's hard for me to charge now, because I'm like, I done did so much for, like, you know, for free that
Yes.
it's hard for me to put a value on it, you know,
Yes,
because
yes.
I'm like, it's the art of it, you know. It's hard to put a number value on that.
Yeah.
But I'll say this to you, like, you know, I didn't grow up in the best circumstances. I didn't have like a lot of positive male figures around me. So like you, I don't even want to get emotional, but you played a huge part in just showing me that there are, you know, other choices, there are other options, other, you know, like you were somebody in the community that played a huge role in like why I didn't go down other paths, because I always knew what I wanted to do, but I'd never seen anybody who did it. Like I never met anybody around me. Nobody in my neighborhood even had a clue about anything. You know, I learned what I wanted to do because, you know, my grandmother exposed me to TV. But then I saw Spike Lee and I read the credits and he was like director, writer, and then I meet you and it's like, oh, I done met Spike Lee. Like, you know, I met a human Spike Lee like right in front of me. That's like someone who, you know, I can touch, someone who can give me advice, someone who, you know, like it just was unreal to me. And I would just remember just wanting to soak up everything, you know, like I just wanted to know everything because it was like, this is real. Like I could really be doing this, and this is someone who's really doing this, and it seemed fulfilling to you, and I could see the stories that you were telling, and you know, like you are a living library to me, you know. So it's like I just always wanted to thank you for that. I don't know if I ever did, but you've always, you know, played that role for me. Like, you know, I have father figure through you. I had you know, and then you introduced me to other people who also open it up even more, you know. So it was just like, and that's why, like, you know, people are always like, do you go to college? Do you not go to college? Do you go into your career? Like, in retrospect, I don't know if I would have done so much college with the debt, but because of college, I got to know you. I got to go through internships. I got to like build relationships with people. And so I think that's what college is, you know.
It is.
But I just thank you for that, because like you showed me something different.
People talk about generational wealth. Well, that's generational wealth to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is investment in the future. Once again, how can I tell those legacy stories of people who came before me, now, and will come after me? So
I'm working on 2 projects right now that are independent. Like we have projects that are going to the networks and all that and are in development. So now I developed 2 projects. One is called Have Mercy, and it's about my cousin who has been incarcerated for 22 years, and he's up for clemency this year. At the same time, his son just got caught up in a huge indictment here in Colorado. It was all over the news. It was like 20-some kids under 20 that got caught up for, they were robbing dispensaries and gun stores. And so now his son just got sentenced to 30 years. So now there's a chance that they could be on the yard or whatever they call it together, you know? And so now I had been having this idea to make this film about my cousin for many years, but now it's like, it's gotten serious. Like now it's like time is ticking. And I bring that up because, you know, when you talk about how you started using film as, you know, in radio and all that as a way to change, like that's what I want to do with these projects, you know, because when you start breaking things down about this generational incarceration and stuff like that, you start to realize that it all stems from something that happened to a community too, especially when we're talking about these last few generations. You know, like when you think about like the Tulsa bombings and Black Wall Street and all that, those were like quick kills. crack epidemic is a slow kill to me. You know, like it's like they dropped bombs on the communities, but it wasn't just like, it wasn't a quick thing. It's something that is still ongoing. And so as I'm making Have Mercy, I'm like, well, we got to get to the root of why little Gennaro is acting out the way that he is. Then you see his father's been incarcerated. Then you go to my uncle who has dealt with addiction his whole life. You know, he got caught up in the crack epidemic. So it's like me peeling back the layers of like what happened to us to get to this point in order to figure out how to fix it, you know? So now I'm going around and I want to interview you for those projects. They're two different projects. Have Mercy is going to be a documentary, and Products of the Plan is a reality show.
Okay.
So the reality show is in essence like the behind the scenes and the making of Have Mercy.
Gotcha.
But also like meeting and talking to all these people. So like Have Mercy's one family, but Products of the Plan is families throughout America, you know, that are all facing, you know, and it's not about the people who got caught up in the drugs. It's about people like me who use that to fuel my art. You know, like my first movies, as you probably remember, were like about my brother getting shot or my mom being on crack, and, you know, being the only Black kid at Colorado Film School at the time, or one of a couple. They used to like say, oh, you're so courageous. You're so, and I'm just like, this is all I know, you know, like I'm not trying to be courageous. I'm just trying to enlighten the people about what's going on in their communities and to show my people what we're doing to ourselves, you know what I'm saying, and how it affects each of us.
Jay Harris, we're talking the 90s and how folks made it through.
Absolutely.
I don't think people understand how traumatic and the things that were going on that had never happened in our history.
Yeah.
There has never been a time where our elders were afraid of our youth.
Right.
There was never that time, and particularly in Northeast Denver. And so connecting the dots, looking back now, coming into a community that was fully Black when you were growing up, which is now fully white.
Fully.
My conclusion is it was all a setup. You know, I knew we didn't have the level of distribution to bring shiploads of crack into a community.
Right.
Or Uzis, you know, the guns and all of that made its way to a community to where just a few blocks away, your college mates didn't even know what was happening over there. Exactly. Like there's not even a spillover.
Right.
And then it's happening everywhere. Black folks have any land, equity, real estate, or place. And now you go everywhere and you see the same thing happening here with gentrification happen there. And then there's the same story: gangs, drugs, violence, crack.
Yep.
What conclusions have you come to? Because like I keep saying, while we were dying on the block, they were buying up the block, and it was all a plan.
100%. For those who don't think that, you're crazy. Like, this was a setup. And we know that because we know about Freeway Ricky Ross and all that, Chico Brown. We know all those stories, so we know we never had the resources or ports to be bringing in no drugs like that. So it was 100% brought in. You know, my uncle tells the story of how, like, which you'll see in the clip, when people were selling for the police, they never got in trouble. But as soon as they're not selling for specific people, now they're in trouble, you know? So it's 100%, it was a plan, and they executed it, and unfortunately it worked. And now there's a whole generation that's just now coming off of drugs, incarcerated or getting out, you know? It's messed up. And I feel like after like all the movements, civil rights and all that, those two generations, they're so brilliant. The ones that are in prison right now, the ones coming off of crack, they probably would have shook this shit up if they wouldn't have been under attack, you know? And so now it's left to us to keep it, you know, to do what they couldn't do because they became victims of that thing that happened to us.
Wow, Jay Harris has taken her life story and surroundings and has used the very mediums that saved her. You know, talk a little bit about the project that you're working on now, and then I want to show a clip featuring Gerald.
All right. So, I don't know if anybody's been watching the news lately, but my little cousin, my baby cousin, little Gennaro Jr., Gennaro Zuniga Jr., he got caught up in that big indictment that happened it happened December of last year, where a bunch of kids, like, you know, under 20, were robbing dispensaries, gun stores, etc. So it was like this huge indictment that happened. They classified my cousin as the ringleader. He's a young man, you know, but his father, which is my big cousin Gennaro, he's currently incarcerated on a life sentence. So our last name Zuniga, my grandmother's name, it comes with a curse, you know, like it's like plagued a little bit. Like once those Zunigas pop up in the system, they're gonna try to throw the book at him, you know. So they've definitely tried to make an example of my cousin, just because, you know, his father. So it's this whole generational incarceration thing, you know. So I came up with an idea to do a documentary for my cousin so that I could help him, because he's eligible for clemency this year actually. And so I decided I wanted to make a documentary just to like help people understand that like the choices you make at 15, 16 should not define you for the rest of your life. You know, like everybody deserves a chance at redemption and second chances. Like we cannot always, like your brain's not even developed at that time to make those right decisions. And then you think about the societal influences around them. There's not a lot of men to be strong influences for him. So I was like, I have to make something to show people that this is a problem and to let people know that everybody deserves a second chance. Well, when we were doing that, I interviewed you. And so many things came out of that interview that it blew up into something so much bigger. So now I'm making a documentary called Have Mercy. And I'm also making a series, which is a reality series called Products of the Plan. And it's about all of us who have survived or came out of it. You know, like my mom is recovered. She is like, I get to know my mom now as like the woman that she is, beautiful, strong, nurturing, caring. She didn't have an opportunity to be that because she started smoking crack at 21, you know, and I was only 1 year old at the time. My uncle, which you'll see in the clip, they did him dirty how he started crack. And these are things that like my mom didn't know about her brother, you know, until just last month.
Wow.
So these are like those family secrets, those things that we don't communicate with each other about. I am exposing it all because that's the only way we're gonna save this new generation. Still to come on Products of the Plan, we will dig into California's rich history by speaking with California natives as well as implants who have come here and have continued to thrive. From musical artists to business moguls and celebrity stylists, we will leave no corner untapped. We will show the next generation that we can be successful despite the odds that have been placed against us. So join us on this journey, as Products of the Plan has only just begun. And stay tuned for a first look at Have Mercy, coming soon.
He wasn't able to see his daughter take her first steps. He wasn't able to be at her first birthday. He's gonna lose all that.
What's so cold is I've been fighting hella hard to get free. Now my son is finna be on the yard that I once was on, or might be on the yard that I'm at.
Gennaro was me to another degree, and then his son was me to more degrees.
I feel like I'm kind of reliving the situation that I lived with his dad, but way harder because now I'm the mother.
We know that when someone goes to prison, the entire family goes to prison with them. So how do we create a community around people where we can share experiences?
Sometimes I'm okay with it because I prefer him being in jail than in the ground. Or sometimes it's hard because I have his baby and I'm by myself.
You know, it creates this sort of domino effect, a generational curse, if you will. You know, especially when kids are grow up like that, being brought into prisons to visit their parent and stuff. It's almost like it becomes a normal, comfortable environment for them. It needs to be broken.
It's definitely a generational curse that's upon people who lose their fathers to prison or even to death, lose their fathers any possible way.
We need these adult men to come back to these communities and reclaim their rightful positions.
I feel like if Gennaro was there, the dynamics in his son's situation would be different.
Yeah, not having a father figure to me makes a huge change in what children do, but especially their sons.
A major organized crime bust, nearly 24 people now under arrest accused of stealing guns and cash and breaking into dozens of marijuana dispensaries.
Well, Jeremy, this wasn't something that just happened overnight. This investigation went on for well over a year in Denver, Aurora, and other major cities.
He's not what they paint him out to be either, you know, so he just caught up.
Yeah, his name, who he was. I felt like the whole time it was like, there's 25 other people in this case, but we want this one. Like, he has to go to prison.
This endless revolving door happens, and that it's cross-generation. Now you've built this reputation of being that family.
He just really didn't have a chance, him personally.
My son could get up to 99 years if found guilty on all charges. It's a generational curse.
When I was 3 years old, my father was sentenced to life plus 130 years.
I know for certainty, without a doubt in my mind, that I'm the reason why he's going through all of this now. It wasn't no way he could win. I mean, first off, because I wasn't there to teach and show him any better.
He's missed out on so much. We don't want him to miss out on anything else.
Lord willing, his son doesn't have to go to prison, but if he does, he'll be able to see, or at least hear, that his dad is a different person than what he thought.
The influence that he has could be monumental in the neighborhood that he's from and just in his life, in this world.
20% of the dudes in there deserve to be in there, 80% not.
Following crack cocaine, following the induction of that prison industrial complex, and the attack on our assets, because all of these years later, we realize that it's very dysfunctional because it grows out of addiction, it grows out of neglect, and it grows out of a breaking of community.
And it's gonna take a lot of love, a lot of support, a lot of grace, a lot of compassion, a lot of chances, not just one, in order for them to see the light, to come to it, and to find their way.
So if you're gonna give a guy a second chance, really give him a second chance, you know? Or in some cases, a first chance.
When I think about my generation, I just think of like how sad it is. We're successful as being shot, you know what I'm saying? Going to the penitentiary. You got a life sentence. I've been to the penitentiary. I got shot. I'm in a wheelchair.
We hope we got the right tools, because we ain't even got fathers in the house to give us the right tools. But then we go to the hood, they fake care about us.
Never having a real male figure to look up to in my life, like in the household. My dad was a basehead.
I went and bought some weed, and they put crack in my weed. I didn't choose to get on crack, but I didn't know how to get off of it. It was the worst thing. It was the worst thing I ever did in my life.
Hey, D.
They sent this little Gennaro today.
What did they say?
He gave him 30 years.
Oh my God. I'm sorry, dude.
Okay.